Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here. Today is Thursday, the 21st of December, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get in there and take a look at what's going on. They're talking here about the economists claim that 2024 will bring the biggest crash of our lifetimes in the United States. Well, I'll tell you, the 2008 financial crisis was one heck of a big crash. So what we want to notice about this is I think they're correct. The energy's there. Everything's in place for a monstrous crash. But we got to take a look at the Dow Jones to understand this a little bit better. What we're seeing here is the 5-year chart. And what I wanted to take you back was to going back here to 2008, 2009. It's just right next to my head here. This precipitous fall in the markets in 2008, 2009, that's the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis. You see? And the market fell from around 14,000 roughly during the Great Financial Crisis, and it fell all the way down here to, where was its bottom? Come on. This mouse. There we go. 6,629 it fell down to from 13,000. Now that's a measured move. It's cut in half basically, but they reacted. My point is it was a reaction by the Fed. This is where quantitative easing began. And what did it do? Well, look at the market. It went up and up and up and up and up until the beginning of the COVID crisis. 2020, right here. We had another crash. And the market was 29,398. And she crashed down to a bottom of 19,173. And then they reacted again. And what happened? The market went from 19,173 all the way up to 36,000. It's a very similar kind of thing to what happened after the Great Financial Crisis when they reacted. And, there's a lot of things we've never heard of before. The Fed will do things like we didn't know about quantitative easing before the Great Financial Crisis. We didn't know about the bank bailouts and what they would do before the Great Financial Crisis. They come up with this stuff. And we don't know what new stuff that they can come up with that you've never heard of before. But the long and the short of it is, they will come up with something. Even if they got to make it up out of thin air. And this all relates back to some power that they have, the ultimate power. It's called the printing press. Now they don't have to really print it anymore, but you guys get the point. They push a button on a computer and they create monetary units. But as this thing has progressed over the years, we've got to a point now where we're at a certain point. They can only go so far with this before the people say, hey, our purchasing power of our dollars, we don't have any faith in that any longer. You're destroying the dollar by getting us out of trouble each time. Each time you get us out of trouble, inflation becomes so much worse. And sure, you keep the financial system together. And so what do you guys think they're going to do? Now, at the Great Financial Crisis, they propped the system up with a big crash. Started with a big crash. And we had a big crash, and then they, in the beginning of the COVID crisis, and they, right here, and they propped the system up. What do you think they're going to do here when this thing inevitably, sometime in 2024, I'm not going to put my finger on exactly when, but this market is heading for a third one. If you see somebody doing something once, you see them do it, and you take note. You say, "Hey, look at what they did," and you see them do it again, and then the situation arises for them to do it a third time. What do you think's going to happen? This is a no-brainer. They're going to prop. The market's going to fall off. They're going to come running in. They're going to prop the system up. Maybe new programs we've never heard of before. And the market's going to go back into going on its merry way up again after it's over. So, but what's that going to do to the dollar this time? Because this time, not only are they doing this on weakness, but they're also moving into an inflationary that's already become embedded in the system. They're going to make it so much worse, but they have to. Because ever since this coup happened, I'm going to call it a coup over the markets in 2008, because that's exactly what it is. The markets have all become controlled. In 2008, that was it. You got monetary controlled markets now. They're not free markets any longer. They're controlled. These are controlled markets. And so when this controlled market starts to fall too far, they're going to come into its rescue just like they've done so many times before. This is just a repeating wash, rinse, as far as I can see, wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. And they get richer and richer every time. If they know how the cycle works and they know how to game it. And they do, believe me, they do. And so this is just, but all in all, what it's going to lead to is the same process that's been going on since 1914 till now, where we've lost like 98% of the purchasing power of our dollar. And they're working on that last 2%. And what's going to happen is this is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Say goodbye to that last 2%. And that could happen pretty darn quick once everybody out there starts to spend their money as fast as they get it. And that's what will happen. And this is coming, believe me. So the economists out there who see this biggest crashes of our lifetime coming, well, it probably does have a lot of energy. But where I would disagree with them is if you read down here in this article, they talk about how everything's going to crash like 1929 and dollars are all going to disappear and the whole thing is going to fall to the ground and everything. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to fall that far before they step in and put a stop to it. Using money. Then watch the inflation. They've already lost the battle to inflation. You guys got to you've got to become your own central bank at this point in time. You got to get out of this paper Ponzi scheme and get into something real. This is your opportunities to cost average in to something that's real and tangible, something instead of something that's just all a bunch of paper nonsense. So here's the Dow today, and it's at 37,301 today, and it's up 219 points. Let's get in there and take a look at some other news today. The Kremlin says it seeks no grounds for Ukraine peace talks now. Okay? Now just look at that tank in the snow there. Buried in snow in Ukraine. You guys know how cold it would be inside that tank? Tanks are made of metal and it's all covered in snow. I don't blame the Ukrainian people for not wanting to get out there and fight in that. Look how cold it looks. It is cold. That's because the sky is gray. It's probably well below zero and windy. You know, and everything's froze up. And you try to do anything and your fingers are going to freeze and everything. So Ukraine is saying, hey, here in this article here, Ukraine is saying, hey, we want 500 100,000 more of you guys to come out and fight. Come on, get out of your warm living room, take your fluffy slippers off, and put on these old wet army boots and get out there. No wonder they don't want to. I don't blame them. I mean, they want to get out and crunching through that ice, and then have the Russians on the other side of the pond over there. No wonder they don't want to. It's like it says Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said on Tuesday that the military had proposed mobilizing 450,000 to 500,000 more Ukrainians into the armed forces. This would mark a dramatic step up of Kiev's effort to beat back Russia. So they're gonna take you from your warm living room, throw you into an army uniform of some sort, and push you out there and say, now beat back Russia. No wonder they're hesitant about that right now at this point. I mean, it says the frontline military are facing artillery shortages, so you haven't even got any bullets. This is horrible. It's so horrible that it could almost be. This war is so horrible it could almost be like it's just off the scale. And at this point, I mean, why doesn't the nations out there? Both of these wars need some sort of peace to come. They need an end to these wars that are going on. They're both of them are absolutely horrendous. Mexico, down the border down there, and border Texas and Mexico or whatever, they closing the rail there and the rail crossing, and it's costed $100 million per day. What's this? Associated Press, Mexico City. A leading Mexican business group said Wednesday that the U.S. decision to temporarily close two railway border crossings into Texas is costing $100 million per day in delayed shipments. The Mexican Employers Association called on the United States to end the closure of the rail crossings into Eagle Pass and El Paso, Texas, which started on Monday. The business group called the closures a sign of the failure of migration policy. So it's costing $100 million a day. And the Houthis are at it. The Houthis' attacks in the Red Sea have shifted global trade routes. Economies and consumers will suffer. So this is a tempest in a teacup, but it's actually more than that, because now what the Houthis have done is the ships in there, they're just basically like, we're not having it. We go through the Suez Canal and we go down into the Red Sea down there. There's too big of a risk that the Houthis are going to try to board our ship. So we ain't having it. We're just going to turn our ships around. We're going to go all the way around Africa. And we don't care if it takes 2 extra months to get through, and if it costs an extra $500,000 added to the ship's cost. We just add the consumer pay for that. So what happens is your stuff comes in 2 months late, and you're going to find that there's a larger cost associated to it, probably 10% more. You're going to have to pay for whatever you want, right? So that's going to fuel inflation. Now, what'll fuel inflation even more is oil disruptions and the price of oil going up, because everything is made out of oil. This is an oil-based economy. And so if we happen to see that, and I think we're going to, that'll really crack the whip on inflation, get inflation going. And, you know, you're not going to see the full effects of this. Well, the markets are not going to see the full effects of this until the Fed starts to say, hey, you know what? Prices are going up again. The CPI is going up again. Oh, we can't cut rates this year. I'm talking about in 2024. We can't cut rates right now. Inflation's going up. When the market says, hey, you said we already priced in 125 basis points of this. And now you're telling us you can't do it? Oh, that's it then. And the next thing you know, the market's that priced in is priced out. And that could be the beginning of something, because things are coming. They're coalescing, toward a crash that would naturally happen anyway. The stock market's been overbloated. And so you get this crash that begins, and then what's going to happen? The Fed's going to come in and stop at a certain point. I would say they're not going to let it fall too much past 20%. And they're going to come in and they're going to start pumping the money into the system again. And then we're going to see the inflation really take off. But it's just the whole thing's a wash, rinse, repeat cycle that you can watch it back. And that's why I showed you those charts this morning of looking to the past to see what's going to happen in the future with the market. So if you can find that bottom, when the markets fall out of bed this time, if you can find that bottom and buy in there, well, then that's when you're really going to do good in the market. No, that's the people who back in 2020 bought into the market when it was at its bottom there. Let's take a quick look here. Look. Okay. Right here. This spike down right here, where the market went from 29,000 down to what was the bottom here? 19,000. So it basically shed a third of the market away, or more than a third of the market. So they bought at 19,000. What happened? It went all the way up to 36,000. They double. It just doubled up, and so the same thing's going to happen all over again. We're going to get a fall up here, and if you can find the bottom of that and buy in at the bottom, then they're going to pump it all the way back. Market will probably go over 40,000, 50,000. Gosh knows how high. When they're pumping it up with free money. And as far as that goes, they will then. Then when that hits and that market collapses like that, that's when they're really going to lower interest rates again. We're just doing this wash, rinse, repeat cycle over and over again. But if you know what that wash, rinse, repeat cycle is, it's a cycle for people to make money too. If you know what it is. And this is how rich people get richer and richer. They're just going to keep this going again. They don't want to be poor. None of them want to be poor. Do you think they're going to let the culmination of this crash go through and the system purge itself of all this malfeasant debt? It would make all these people that profited off the malfeasant debt poor again. That ain't gonna happen. They're going to keep this game going until your dollar is worth zero. And you can bet that the ones that are playing this game, at a certain point, they're going to get the off-ramp ahead of you, or try to get ahead of you, and they're going to get into something real. Get those dollars into something real at a certain point. That they're not stupid. They didn't get rich by being stupid, and they're gonna take your precious metals and scoop them right out from underneath you, and you ain't gonna get them at that point. And they're gonna do it all at once when they do it. And I've been saying this for a long time. The last stage of the precious metals game, they're going to clean the physical. It's going to be gone. They're going to take it all in one fell swoop. They can buy it right out from underneath you. You might go to your coin dealer or whatever, and you got dozens of monster boxes there, The next day you go and they're all gone. You say, where did they all go? Well, the big rich guy bought them out last night. He just pushed a mouse button. They're all allocated. So, sorry. They're all gone. Overnight. You say, well, there's all kinds of silver. I saw a dozen monster boxes. They're... Yeah, that could go like... What's a dozen monster boxes? 6,000 ounces? That's nothing. They could gone, poof. I mean, people, they get these ideas in their mind that, oh, the silver will be there forever because I saw a monster box. That, that just doesn't make any sense. Because these big players out there, they can buy by the millions of ounces with the click of a mouse. And it's all gone. Anyway, I try to impress that you gotta get your head around this at a certain point. I believe, truthfully, I don't believe you're going to be able to buy silver at a certain point. I think that's the move they're going to make. They're gonna come along at a certain point and they're going to say, "Hey, you know what? We got wars going on. We need to make armaments and stuff. We need the silver for industry, and we got these people coming in and they're buying silver in the retail market, and we just got to put a stop to that." And so you're going to need a license now. You want to buy silver at the local coin store, you're going to have to probably show a license. That's what's going to happen. No selling, no problem. You got silver, you want to sell, no problem. They're happy to get it. They'll be, once the price goes up, it'll just be like they'll be happy to get it. But as far as buying it, that's where they're going to cut you off, I think. I think they're just going to make it so that you have to have a special license. So you have to be in an industry or something to be able to actually purchase the stuff, ultimately. Because this can't go on for much longer. Where you got a whole big bunch of silver going out the back door to places where they're selling retail silver out there, like coins and bar demand, right? And then industry taking it out the other door, and there's nothing left in the warehouse any longer. That can't go on, this deficit, because they're going to run out. And so they're not going to let industry run short. So they're going to say, well, who's going to get cut out of this deal? Well, obviously, a bar and coin demand. And so they're going to say, well, how do we cut them out? Well, make them have a license to buy it. Poof, boing, bong, dung, it's done. And they're rich people. They'll get their license. They get everything they want. Give them a license. They'll open up some sort of LLC or something where they say, well, okay, we're using it for commercial use or whatever. And they'll buy it. They'll buy the bar and coin band right out from under you. They always got a racket that they're running. See, if it comes down to this, it's going to be the little guy who ain't going to be able. He'll go into the coin dealer and they say, well, you got a license to buy it? He says, no. How do I get that? He says, well, you got to be using it for industrial use or blah, blah, blah. This is what they'll probably do. I'm just saying, Anyway, I got to start moving on here. I'm getting bogged down in this. Taking a look at the cryptos today. Oh, we got to do silver and gold. Gold chart. Gold is 2042 today, and silver is 2435. Yeah, today. And taking a look at cryptos today, we're taking a look at Bitcoin. It's at 43,598. Ethereum's at 2223. XRP is at 61.4 cents. Now, oil price is down 49 cents at 73.73. Taking a look at bonds and rates, we're looking at a U.S. 10-year at 3.87. It's down a half a basis point. And the U.S. 30-year is at 4.01, and it's up nearly 1 basis point. And finishing off with the dollar index is 101.90 and falling today. Thank you guys for listening to my show. You guys have a great afternoon. You guys are very special. For one thing, you know something all your neighbors don't know. You know there's problems coming. We'll catch you guys in the next show. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.